which collided together and thereby moved with a what? With a uniform velocity. That means it moved with the same velocity. Is that not what I told you? Is that not what I told you about inelastic collision? I told you inelastic collision occur when two bodies collide together and thereby they move with in the same direction with uniform velocity. Now, when you come to how do you apply, because I told you that linear inelastic momentum collision is also called what? Conservation of what? Of linear momentum, when momentum is being conserved. So how do you now apply the conservation of linear momentum and total kinetic energy? How do you now apply them together? Because remember that kinetic energy is the energy that is being dissipated as a result of what? As a result of when a body is in motion. The energy a body dissipates when it is in motion is known as what? Is known as kinetic energy. And remember, momentum is being reserved, energy is being dissipated by those two bodies. So how do you now relate kinetic energy and what? And linear momentum or conserved linear momentum. Now, the momentum and kinetic energy are written respectively. Let me give you their formula. That's when you are applying momentum to when you are applying. Let me turn my phone so that some people will not be listening. All right. So how do you now relate momentum to kinetic energy? So we're going to be looking at the formula now. Please follow this class step by step. Hi. I might just compress this slide like this. So let's look at conservation of momentum with kinetic energy. So the equation or the formula that is given is what? Now, first of all, what is the formula for? Let's look at it now. What is the formula for what? For momentum, for kinetic energy. You know, the formula for kinetic energy is known as what? Kinetic energy, Ke, is known as what? As 1 over 2 mv squared, where m is your what? Is your mass, and v is your what? Is your velocity. Now, if you can remember momentum, when we did momentum, I told you that that's for collision. I told you that the formula we use when solving collision is what? Is m1, the first mass of the body, u1 plus what? m2 u2 is equal to m1 plus what? m2 v. Is that not so? So now when you now come to conservation, if you look at this formula and you look at this formula, they are almost the same. Is that not so? They are almost the same. So what do you now do? You now say the formula you use when solving kinetic momentum with kinetic energy with linear momentum or conservation of linear momentum. The formula will now be what? Half mu1 squared, m1 u1 squared plus half m2 u2 squared is equal to half m1 plus m2 v squared. That is the formula you use when solving kinetic energy, the application of conservation of linear momentum to what? To total kinetic energy when it comes to inelastic collision. Do you understand? Do you understand? This is just something you need to know because I didn't mention it last class. But this is something you need to know. So now, application of Newton's and conservation of momentum laws. There are laws that guide there are laws that guide conservation. There are laws that guide the conservation of momentum. And what are those laws? If you want to understand this law, you need to understand what we call the recoil of a gun. The recoil of a gun. So that's our topic for today, the recoil of a gun. And there are things that we want you to jot down because these are, I call them the keys to understanding this particular part. And this is where you need to pay attention. This is where you need to pay attention properly. If you don't pay attention here, then just know that everything I'll be saying today will just be like a bee making noise in your ear. So the recoil of a gun, please write it and write everything I'll be saying now. Every key point I'll be giving now, make sure you write it. Now, number one, write. I believe you have with your writing material. So write. Number one, when a bullet is fired from a gun, the gun jerks backward or recoil. That's number one. The first thing you must understand is that when a bullet is fired from a gun, the gun jerks backward or recoil. The gun jerks backward or recoil. And there is a reason why this gun recoils. You understand? There is a reason why this gun recoils. So when a bullet is fired from a gun, let me try my best to draw a gun. This is a gun. Let's imagine this is a gun. This is a pistol gun, right? Now, what they are saying here is that, please follow this class. Somebody will learn something. What they are saying here is that when you fire a bullet, because this gun is a loaded gun, there are bullets under. So they are saying that when you fire a bullet, let's imagine this is the bullet that was fired. They said there is a recoil that takes place inside the gun. So the gun is what? Is recoiled or it jerks backward. What it means by recoil is that as the bullet is moving forward, you expect that gun to also, like when you shoot it, for the gun to go forward. Is that not so? But what they are saying here is that when a bullet is being fired, there is a backward movement that occur inside this gun. Shall I say in the gun? That means as the bullet is fired forward, the gun what jerks backward. So there is an opposite movement. And remember, where we are talking about collision, I told you there are two types of collision. There are what we call the elastic collision, and there's also what we call the inelastic collision. And I told you that the elastic collision is when two bodies collide and they move with what? Uniform velocity. Is that also? I also told you that inelastic. Now, when you want to understand, I'm coming, please. Yeah, as I said, when for inelastic collision, that is where two bodies collide together, and thereby they move with what? With a uniform velocity. So let's look at the calculations now. Okay, I'm still talking about sorry, please. I'm still talking about the things you need to note down. I said the gun jerks backward. Number two, before the gun is fired, write it down. Before the gun is fired, the initial momentum of the gun is 0. The initial momentum of the gun and the bullet is 0 before the gun was fired. The initial momentum, that means the M1U1, M2U2 of the gun and the bullet is what? Is 0. The momentum of the gun, that's M1U1, is the momentum of the gun. M2U2 is the momentum of what? Of the bullet. So what they are saying here, if you want to apply what they are saying here, they are saying that M1U1 plus M2U2 is equal to what? All of them gives you what? Gives you 0 in all cases. That is why I say recoil of a gun is different from that one we have been solving. That one is when two bodies collide. This one is about recoil of a gun. So M1U1 is what? Is 0. And Remember, I told you that in inelastic collision, they move with the same in the same direction. Now, this one is talking about elastic collision, because elastic collision this follows the formula of elastic collision, because elastic collision, or I know I didn't teach you that, but I'm just trying to paraphrase it because it's not that important. Elastic collision takes place when the body moves with different velocity. So this time around, they no longer, because of the recoiling nature of the gun is moving to the opposite direction. The bullet is moving, the gun is moving to the right, the bullet is moving to the right. So therefore, to the left. So therefore, you will have your answer to be M2 V2 plus, sorry, M1 V1 plus M2 V2. So you are using this formula to calculate the recoil of the gun. It's very, very simple. Remember, the initial momentum of the gun and the bullet is always zero. What you are now solving now is the final momentum of the gun and bullets. That's what we call recoil of a gun. And they both move in opposite direction. All right. So let's move on. Let's continue. Now, I said that before the gun is fired, the initial momentum of the gun and bullet is zero. Now, when the bullet is fired, the bullet moves forward with a certain velocity. You understand? The bullet moves forward with a certain velocity. You can also write that. Now, it has the next thing, it has forward momentum equal to M1 V1. It has a forward momentum. So M1, we're talking about the bullets now, right? M1, they say it has forward momentum equal to M1 V1, where M1 is known as the mass of bullet and V1 is known as the velocity of bullet. So whenever you are solving your M1 and your V1, the M1 is the momentum of the body of the mass. The M1 is known as the mass of the bullet, while the V1 is known as the final velocity of the bullet. Remember, I said that the initial velocity is always what? Zero. That's when you are calculating recoil of a gun. Let's continue. Then I said the momentum of the gun now is M2 V2, where M2 is the mass of the gun and V2 is the velocity of the gun. Since momentum must be conserved, pay attention now. Since momentum must be conserved, why are people leaving the class? Is it network? Please, what's the complaint on the group? Is it network that is the issue? Or what? Are they staying in the class? It's network. It's network. Oh my God. But they are not dropping the. All right. So let's continue. Since what was I saying? The momentum of the gun is M2V2, where M2 is the mass and of the gun and V2 is its velocity. Now, since momentum must be conserved, so we say that M1 V1 is known as momentum of what? Of bullets, and M2 V2 is equal to what? Momentum of gun. Now remember, we said M1 V1 plus M2 V2 is equal to what? Zero. What's this zero? This zero is the initial momentum of the gun and the bullet, that is zero. So since you know that this is zero, if you want to calculate the momentum of the gun now, or maybe you want to calculate the mass and the velocity, what you will do is that you will shift this, because you are supposed to have an equation, not an expression. So this is an equation. So this body moves to this side. So you will have M1 V1 is equal to minus M2 V2. The reason why we are getting this negative sign is because when the gun, remember what they said about the gun. This is your gun. Please follow this formula. This is your gun. Remember the first law. They said that when a bullet is fired out of the gun, the bullet is moving like this. And they said there is a backward movement of the gun. This backward movement of the gun is telling you that your gun is moving towards a negative direction. So because of that, your mass and the mass of the gun and the velocity of the gun is therefore negative because of its opposite direction or because of its opposite movement. It's just like when I explained inelastic collision that I told you that when two bodies are coming together, when they collide of different masses, when they collide, I told you something will happen. They will both move in the direction of the smaller body. Is that not what I told you? The body with the smaller mass. Is that not what I told you? Now, because of that, when calculating, I told you that the mass of this your body will be what? Will be negative of the smallest body. It's the same thing here, but this one we're talking about final momentum here. So when your bullet, or should I say, when your bullet is being fired, because of the backward movement of the gun will have a negative mass and velocity because of its backward movement. Because they said that the movement is backward because initial momentum of the gun and bullet is zero. So when you do that, this is what your formula. So the formula I use it to calculate the momentum of a gun and a bullet, or the recoil of a gun, is M1 V1 is equal to minus M2 V2. This is the formula you are using in all questions that have to do with recoil of a gun. Is that clear? Is that clear? Who understood what I just explained now? You understood everything I just explained now? All right. So please just follow this class. We'll soon be done. I don't want to. I'm very, very weak right now. I don't want to take much of your time today. That's why I even shifted the class to 7:30. I was very, very weak. Now let's look at this question now. They said that there's only one question here that we're going to be solving. Very, very simple question. They said that look at this. They said a gun weighing, please write the question now. A gun weighing 4 kg, a gun weighing 4 kg fires a bullet of 40 grams. A gun weighing 4 kg fires a bullet of 40 grams, 40 G, with a velocity of 500 meters per second. A gun weighing 4 kg fires a bullet of 40 grams with a velocity of 500 meters per second. With what velocity does the gun recoil? With what velocity does the gun what? Recoil. With what velocity does the gun what? Recoil. Are you following? Somebody following me this evening? With what velocity does the gun recoil? Should we solve? Did you get the question? With what velocity does the gun recoil? We are going to be solving two questions. The second question, we are still going to go back to what I just explained before I started the recoil of a gun. Copy this question. They say two bodies A and B. Two bodies A and B. The second question now. Is that still light? Okay. Two bodies A and B of masses 4 kg and 2 kg. This one is still under inelastic collision. Two bodies A and B of masses 4 kg and 2 kg moves towards each other, moves towards each other with velocities 3 meter per second and 2 meter per second and collide. Two bodies A and B of masses 4 kg and 2 kg moves towards each other with velocities 3 meter per second and 2 meter per second and they collide. Now they say if the collision is perfectly inelastic, I repeat the question. Two bodies A and B, two bodies A and B. Sorry, let me clear this thing on the board. We'll still solve for the first question and the second question. So I want us to get the first question. Two bodies A and B moves of masses 4 kg and 2 kg. The mass of the first body is 4 kg. The mass of the second body is 2 kg. Moves towards each other with velocities 3 meter per second and 2 meter per second. The velocity of the first body is 3 meter per second and the velocity of the second body is 2 meter per second and collide. Find the if the collision is perfectly elastic. If the collision is perfectly elastic, find the velocity of the two bodies. Find the velocity of the two bodies after collision. Find the velocity of the two bodies after collision. After you do that, find the total kinetic energy of the system before and after collision. So they can ask you to find the velocities, and they can also ask you to find the total kinetic energy. And I gave you the formula for solving total kinetic energy of the system before and after collision. Hence, calculate the kinetic energy. So we are calculating what? Kinetic energy. Calculate the kinetic energy. This question number 3 is very broad. That's why I had to give us, because I didn't do that in the last class. So let's solve this question and we're done for the class. Is that okay? So let's solve for the first one. They said a gun weighing the first, they said the mass of the first body M1 is equal to what? That's sorry, a gun weighing. So they said mass of gun is what? 4 kg. Mass of bullets is what? 40 gram. So you say 40 gram divided by 1000. How many grams makes 1 kilogram? It's 1000 now. So is that not so? 1000, which will be what? Which will be 0.04 kg. So the mass of the bullet is what? 0.04 kg. Then they said we should look for our velocity of gun. We don't know. They said we should look for it. Then the velocity of bullet is what? For those that didn't get the question, the velocity of bullet is what? Is 500 meter per second. This thing is very, very simple. Very, very simple. What do we do? Come here and just write a formula. What's our formula? M1V1 is equal to M2 minus M2V2 minus M2V2. Is that not so? Because they say the gun jerks backward. And based on our formula, I told you we are going to get a negative sign. Please follow. Now, what do you do now? What are we looking for? We're looking for V2. So divide both sides by, let me say, minus M2. Divide both sides by minus M2. Cancel this. So you are going to be having V2 to be equal to minus M1 V1 is equal all over what? All over M2. Somebody following? So what are we going to get? Our Answer will now be what? What is our M1? Our M1 is what? 0.04 times what is our V1? 500 divided by what? Divided by 4. Remember there is a minus. So V2 will now be what? Our V2 will now be 5 minus 5 meter seconds. Very, very simple. Our answer will now be what? Minus 5 meter per second. It's just using formula to get your equation. That's all. Once you know your formula, you are done. There's no big deal around it. Once you know your formula, you are done. I advise every student, go and learn formulas. All these formulas, in fact, focus more on learning the formulas in this class than the calculation. If you know your formula, any question, as long as you understand the parameters given in that question, you will get your answer. As long as you understand your parameters, you get your answer. Is that okay? So let's solve for the second. Did everybody get this question? I believe somebody understood what they said in this question, right? All right, so let's get to the second part. The second part is under inelastic. That is where I want you to pay attention. They said that through body, I want to use an illustration for it now. I'm coming, please. Is everybody still following? Is everybody still following? You are following the class. Can I see your hand? If you are following the class, can I see your hand? You know you are following my class. Only one person is following. Okay. So that's all. Sorry, the network issue. Those people in school. Wow. God will help us. They said two bodies of mass. The first mass is what? 4 kg. See what they said. Let's imagine this is body A. This is body B. They said body A has what? 4 kg. Body B has what? 2 kg. They said this one is moving with a velocity of what? 3 meter per second. This one is moving with a velocity of what? 2 meter per second. When they collide now, what will happen? What they are saying here is that you should calculate the velocity at which they will move. Remember, this is inelastic. They say if the collision is inelastic, what will happen to the body? Remember, the body will move what? Towards this direction. Why will it move towards this direction? Because I told you that when a body with a smaller mass collides with a body with a big mass, the two bodies will move with a uniform velocity. Thereby, they will move towards the direction of the what? Of the smaller mass. So they will move to the opposite direction. Is that not so? So when they collide, they will move like this. So let's calculate. What is the formula for inelastic collision? The formula for inelastic collision will be what? M1 V1, sorry, U1. M1 U1 plus what? Plus, remember, okay, M2 U2 is equal to what? M1 plus M2 V. So what are we looking for? We are looking for this V here. They say we should calculate their uniform velocity. So now what do? Substitute your formula. So what is our M1? Our M1 is what? Is 4 times, what is our U1? 3 plus, remember I told you that since the body will move towards the direction of the smaller mass, the mass becomes what? Negative. So we are going to be having minus 2 times 2. Please pay attention. What is our M1? 4 plus 2V. I feel like we have solved this question. Have we solved this question? Have we solved this question before? We have not. All right, so let's continue. So 4 times 3 is what? 4 times 3 is 12 minus 2 times 2, because plus times minus will be minus. 2 times 2 will be what? 4 is equal to 6V, because 4 plus 2 times V is 6V. So what do you have? 12 minus 4 is what? 8 is equals to 6V. Divide both sides by 8. Divide both sides by 6. When you divide both sides by 6, divide both sides by 6. So your V is equal to 1.33 meter per second. This is the uniform velocity at which they will move, because the body will move with the two bodies. When they collide together, they will come together and move towards the direction of the smaller body, and the velocity at which they will move towards this direction is what? 1.33 meter per second. See, physics is simple. No matter how hard the equation can look or will look, as long as you know the right formula to use, I'm telling you the truth, if physics becomes very, very simple. That's the truth. Physics becomes very, very simple. That's why I would advise you, for your e-learning videos, go and watch them. Don't just watch them and say, they are boring, they are boring, they are boring, and you don't watch them. If you don't watch them, well, you read and I will cry at the end. Go and watch them. They are very, very important. Even though they might look, I'm not understanding, still watch it. Because by the time you attach what I'm giving you now and you go and watch those videos, you get better understanding than other students. Because life is personal. So take note of all these things I'm teaching you. Remember, the question is a 2-in-1 question. First of all, they say calculate the velocity. The second part, they said find the total kinetic energy of the system before and after collision. Find the total kinetic energy before and after collision. That means you find the total kinetic energy before collision and find the total kinetic energy after collision. Hence, they say calculate the kinetic energy. Calculate the kinetic energy. Sometimes, even in objective question, you can be given questions like this. They will give you this as number 6. They will give you the next question as number 7. By next week, we are entering February. By next week, we will start answering past questions. Don't worry, you will see what I'm saying. There are some questions they will give you in number 5. The same question they will give you in number 6. So by next week, we will start answering. Our next class will be Q&A. Before we move to the next topic, we will answer like 10 questions in Q&A. Then we go to the next topic under what we have treated. That's under motion and under Newton law. So we'll look for the questions there and solve them before we go to the next topic. Is that okay? So don't worry, we are making progress. I'm making progress by the I might not finish physics for you guys, but with the little I have dropped for you, this should give you the ginger to go and read more. This should encourage you to go and read more and read deep, so that you become better than me. Yes, that's my goal. Is to see that I train people that become 10 times better than me, so that tomorrow when I see you, I pay my respects. When I see you in the face, at least. See, today maths was very, very amazing. People were even, some of my students were telling me what to do on the board here. You understand? I love that. I love to see that. When I don't know it, my student is coming through for me. It's not as if I would embarrass myself, because there are some people who are thinking that I cannot solve it. They were thinking I was fake. Those people that were coming for the first time. They didn't know that I have trained guys that are strong. See, people were giving me expo. Thank you so much. So that's what I want. So calculate the total kinetic energy. So total kinetic energy, that's total KE, will now be what? Remember the formula. I said the formula for total kinetic is 1/2 m1 u1 squared, right? Plus, this is the square though, plus what? Half m2 u2 squared is equal to half. Remember, the body is an inelastic collision, so it will be half m1 plus m2 v squared, because it moves with a uniform velocity. So this is the formula for our total kinetic energy. So what do? We just simply substitute our formula. So remember, I said our 1/2, what was our mass? Our mass for the first body was was 4. So you see 4, excuse me. So it will be 4. And what was our u1? Our u1 was 3. So you say 3 squared plus half What was our mass body for the second body? 2. The mass was 2. 2 open bracket minus 2 squared is equal to 1 over 2. What was our two masses? Our two masses was 4 plus 2. Then what was our general velocity? Our general velocity was 1.33 squared. Is somebody following? If you got to this point, can I see your hand? If you understand to this point, can I see your hand? I want to ensure everybody is following. It's just formula and substitution. So we have substituted our formula. See, let me tell you. See what makes physics simple. I told you, know your formula number 1. Number 2, once you substitute, do you know what you are doing here? You are playing with the simple arithmetic you taught in primary school. What you are doing here, the problem with people is that it's not here that is a problem. The problem is number 1, they don't know how to use their signs. Number 2, they don't know the formula. Once you know your formula, you substitute. What are you doing here? Is everything not addition and subtraction here? Is this not your simple square root? Is this not your simple addition? Is this not your simple square root? Is this not your simple addition? So what you are playing with now is not as if the question is not hard. What you are doing now is that you are playing with your addition, your simple operation. Your simple operation, the one they taught you in maths. Simple operation. So what do you do now? Please don't see physics like a hard something. So you are going to be having 1 over 2 4 times 3 squared is what? 9 plus 1 over 2 times what? Times 4, because minus 2 squared is 4, is equal to 1 over 2 6 times what? Times 1.77. Are you following? Let's put this in brackets. Is somebody following? So what are you going to do here? I'm going to be having 1 over 2 times 36, because 4 times 9 is 36, plus 1 over 2 times 8 is equal to 1 over 2 times 6 times 1.77. Are you following? Follow the step. I said you are playing with our addition and subtraction. So what do you do? What is 1 over 2 of 36? 18. Plus what is 1 over 2 of 8? 4. Is equal to 1 over 2 of 6 is what? Is 3. 3 times 1. 7. 18 plus 4 is what? 22. It's equal to 5.3. 3 times 1.77 will give us what? 5.3. Now, this is the total kinetic energy before collision. This is it here, 22. And this is the total kinetic energy after collision, 5.3. So if you want to get what did they say you should find? Therefore, find what? Find or calculate the kinetic energy. So if you want to calculate the kinetic energy, remember, I said this. I said that your kinetic energy is the energy dissipated when the body moved. So when you dissipate something, what does it mean? You are losing. So we call it loss in kinetic energy. Loss in what? Kinetic energy. And the loss in kinetic energy, the formula is always total kinetic energy minus before collision, total kinetic energy before collision, we call it EK1 minus total kinetic energy after collision, EK2. So when you solve the math, you're going to be having 22 minus 5.31 or 5.3. So when you solve 22 minus 5.3, what will be the answer? Your kinetic energy will be 16.69 Newton or 16.7 Newton. So this is the answer. Your KE now, let's imagine this is where we write it. So your KE now will now be what? 16.69 Newton. That is what we call the kinetic energy of the two bodies. Remember, I said the kinetic energy is the energy dissipated when the two bodies move. And I told you that for you to look for it, we call it loss in kinetic energy. And that loss in kinetic energy is EK1, that is the total kinetic energy before collision, minus EK2, which is the total kinetic energy after collision So when you solve the math, you will say, remember we solved, this is the total kinetic energy before collision, this is it after collision. So 22 minus 5.3, what do we get? 16.69 Newton. That's the answer. Clap for me now. Yeah. I mean, somebody is lost. Somebody is lost. Somebody is lost. Jamilat, let me hear you.
So I wanted to ask why is YouTube have come with a negative sign?
Remember now, what did I say? I said that when calculating, your body moved towards the gun. U2 is the velocity of the gun. It moved towards a negative direction. Okay, wait. You're asking why U2 is a negative sign? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, yes, sir.
Remember, I told you that. Remember, hey, you were not in my last physical class. The reason why you can't put minus sign in the mass here is because mass does not change, but velocity changes. So it is the change in velocity that gave birth to your what? To your final velocity. So the reason why you're having a minus 2 here is because mass doesn't change, but the velocity is changing because as the body is moving backward, is it the mass that is moving? Mass doesn't have anything to do with motion. Is that not so? So the one that has to do with motion, that's the movement of the gun, is what? Is the velocity. That is why the velocity is negative. Is that clear? So when you are, see, there's a way you think. Mass doesn't change. The mass of the body doesn't change. So as the body is moving, it is when they say the body, the gun jerked backward. What do they mean? That the mass will not change. The reason why in that former one I had to divide both sides by m1 minus m1 is because that is what we are to do. So this one now you are talking about kinetic energy. So there are two different formulas. That's why I have to separate them. You understand? See, physics and maths, they are problems because you just have to like, how will I put it? You just have to be patient because see there are some calculations, as I told you, especially physics. People fail physics. Why? Because even the lecturers, they know your mind. They know what you are thinking. You understand? They know what you are thinking. So sometimes you will do some things that you will feel like it is the right thing, but then they know that you will feel like this is I'm doing the right thing, but they will know that you ideally you are wrong. But you will feel like have you solved a question and you felt like this is the right thing for me to do, and you will do it, and at the end you will feel and you'll be saying, why did I fail? It's because you did not follow laws. Is that okay? So we are going to be stopping the class for now. So please, Salvador, are you still online? Please indicate. Is Salvador still on this call? Salvador, are you still on this call? All right. So we'll be stopping. All right. Please, you can stop the recording. Please stop the recording. We are done for the class. Have you stopped the recording? Salvador, please, nobody should leave. If you stop the recording, please give me a thumbs up. Or if you cannot stop it, just send me a message. Let me see. You can stop the recording. Thank you. So as I said, February class is approaching very, very soon. And that February class is something that you have to be very, very serious in that class. Exams is approaching very, very soon. So February class is approaching. This is how it will be now for the February class. I believe there are people who pay very, very late. You understand? So for those, I'm going to be sharing the payments part into two. For those people that paid and they are in that January group, those people that paid, because that January group was created, I think, like it lasted for 2 weeks before I created this original group. So those people that paid and they are in that January group, they will pay their money. They will be giving grace of 1 week for February, 1 week. Those people that are in that January class. Then for those who are not in the January class, I'm going to separate you guys. You guys will be giving grace for 2 weeks because it will be a cheat on people who paid maybe on the 17th and they didn't really enjoy the class. You understand? So I've thought about it. Ideally, I wanted to make it a generous one, but I felt like there are people who joined late. So those people who join late, I'm going to be doing two class. It is still part of your money. You understand? It's still part of your money because so many people will feel like, I just joined this class and you are telling me I should pay again. No. So what will happen is that those people who are not in the general class, if you leave that general class because you don't want to pay, well, I'll just remove you totally from the group. I will still pass this announcement. I'm not saying this for the sake of those who are here. For those who paid and that they are not in that general class, there is a reason why I did add you. I are requesting to join. Not request to. So those people who are not in the general class, they will what? They will pay 2 weeks after February. February is very, very short. So they'll be paid 2 weeks grace. But for those who are not who are in the general class, after first week of February, if you don't pay, I'm removing you from this group. I know all of you. I know when you filled your form. All of you, that's why I did that form. All of you, I know when you fill your form. So and I know when you join this class. So if you'll be given just 1 week grace to make your payments, in case you have it, so that you will not spend it, you can pay now so that I will account you understand, I will add you up to the new group that will be created. So make sure you make your payments early. Is advisable so that you won't be moved at the end. You understand? So if you don't pay 1 week